I'm Lucas,
And I'm Russell.
and you're
And
listening.
you're listening to Sad Boy Podcast.
Yeah, Sad Boy.
Sad Boy Podcast.
Welcome back to the Sad Boy Podcast.
Welcome
I'm
back.
back.
Lucas is back.
Welcome back to me as well.
Yeah,
And
because Lucas wasn't here last week.
yeah, I was busy moving, so
Yeah.
welcome back to Cora. She's here today with us as well.
Yes.
Hey guys, I'm back. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for being here. We got a lot of welcome backs this week.
Yes, a lot. So welcome back episode.
Yes. But today we're going to be talking about, I guess, would you say it's a bad thing or a good thing? Actually, no, it is a bad thing. In relationships, when things come to an end, we usually go through a very, very tough period in our lives. And that's why today we're going to talk about that and how do we overcome it with Cora.
Yes. So overcoming heartbreak, it's something that most of us has struggled through. It was dark times for a lot of us after, a horrible breakup. It could lead to reasons of the breakup, someone ghosting, things didn't work out, cheating, someone moving away, right? Parents didn't give approval, or maybe it wasn't the right time in our lives, right? When we're going to university or we're moving away for work, or also like differences, right? Someone wants to get married and the other person doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we overcome heartbreak, right? There's 5 things like how we can progress in overcoming the heartbreak after a very, very bad breakup. The first step is acceptance, accepting that things are over between you and your partner, right? There's no going back. You made a decision that this is it for yourself and for the other person, right? And you feel sorry, you feel guilty. But so the first step is accepting it, but also having a cool down period, right? A period of not talking, of just silence, right? Of not contacting or reaching out your ex. So you can cool down and, focus on yourself and nourish up your emotions and doing things you like. Secondly, is not only just working on yourself, but progress of doing a task or, going into a career or going back to school, working on your fitness, something that you care about a lot and you always didn't have time to do it. But now because you're not in a relationship, you have a lot of time, right, to invest in yourself or even actually making investments. So progress, right? So for example, I myself, after I broke up with my partner, with my ex-boyfriend, I really focused on my career and getting it up there, right? And doing something I've always wanted. So finally, I got my job in not-for-profits, working in the public sector. And I've been waiting for a long time to get it. And that was my progress. So I got my job that I wanted. And I feel a lot more fulfilled. And over time, because you accomplish something, the heartbreak becomes smaller, right?
Yeah.
And then, And thirdly is reading all your old memories, going back to your chats, right? And somehow let it go. Where you read it the first time, the second time, the third time, even stalking your ex. Try not to do it, but you'll always wonder. So, slowly, embrace all the emotions. Don't try to hook up with somebody or date someone immediately, because there was a problem there, right? No one was fully perfect in the relationship, and you sort of have to go back to see where you were at fault, so for the next relationship you could do better, right? And I think that's important. For instance, right, during the relationship you were not fair, you always made the other person paid for the meal, or you were very anxious, always texting the person, right? That's something you need to work on. I also had somebody who was a client of mine whenever he got rejected, he would become very angry and hot tempered, and he would just throw a huge fit. And I was like, you can't do that. People get
Mhm.
scared when you yell at them, scream at them, right? Because you got rejected. You have to like take rejection, but also like how you react to it's very important. It's not cool if you become hot tempered. Like nobody wants to be with someone who yells. So that's not like
Mhm.
appropriate. And like fourthly, like I think like also look at rebranding yourself on LinkedIn, right? On networking, and also your clothing. Like I think that really helps, right? In losing the extra pounds, or even like practicing your reading skills. And because a lot of individuals, they when they read something, they don't fully absorb the information. For
Mhm.
you to have self improvement, reading is very important
Yeah.
because it's like sacred information that you have to take it to your heart to understand how to operate and do things. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I think reading a book, a lot of people can't do it because it's straining for their eyes, but read a little bit every day and really practice your two-way communication and talking to others. Let's say your boss or your colleague said something to you, but you don't quite respond to the answer they really want to nail down to get. You need to
Mhm.
work on that, and this is the time to work on it, right? Because two-way communication is vital in relationships, in the workplace, and also at home. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
fifthly, the last one is the goal is not to fight with anybody because
Yeah.
it's just a waste of energy. It's very hard. It's easy to be said, but it's very hard to be done. Like,
Yeah.
because you and your ex, when you guys fought, right? Honestly, both of you were probably crying, upset, but the problem may have not been as big as it came to be,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So even fighting with your family, right? So it's just doesn't make any sense. Everyone is exhausted. It doesn't go anywhere. So the goal is not to fight. Of course, like everybody wants a win at the fight, but sometimes there's no point in winning. Some things are better left unsaid. But also you want to stick up for yourself, right? And stand up for
Mhm.
yourself when you have something that's right and you want that to become across, then you have to say it, but no, learn how to retreat and go back
Mhm.
to your room or even cut off contact.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like over time I learned that like how unhappy you are determines who you choose to be with.
Mhm.
In toxic relationships or relationships that didn't work out, it's because you were unhappy and then you felt this person could fill that void, or you deserve that person, but
Mhm.
clearly you don't. And when you work on yourself, when you make progress, you will find people that you truly deserve,
Yeah.
and you'll
Yeah.
have better relationships in general.
Yeah. And even like the stuff that you were talking about, like building your habits and improving yourself. It's funny because all these things kind of tie back to like episodes that we've done before, right?
Oh
Like
yes.
no matter what, it's like you got to keep working on yourself. And obviously during a breakup, like when your heart is broken, it's definitely like it's a very hard thing to do, right?
It
And
is.
for me, like sometimes the mindset I had is that if I'm going through something bad, right? Obviously in our heads we'll always think of so many different excuses to not do something.
Hmm.
But the moment you find that one reason to do it, you try your best to cling on to that reason only. Ignore
Yeah.
everything else and just cling on to that one reason and keep pushing forward.
That's true. That's true. That
Yeah.
voice inside your head. And also you could be your own best friend. So
Yeah.
especially the night of your breakup, right? You're probably all over the place. You're in your bed. You're about to sleep. You can tell yourself, be your own best friend, and tell yourself things are going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And then, be gentle with your soul, then
Yeah.
slowly sleep and have a nice slumber.
Yeah. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think that does go hand in hand with mental health as well, right? Like we go through these grief things, and it is. beneficial if we constantly, remind ourselves like, hey, you know what, everything's going to be okay and all that stuff. It's very similar to they say like when you first wake up, like you look in the mirror and you give yourself like self-affirmation quotes or whatever, like tell yourself like, hey, you know what, today's gonna be a good day and everything. Like it does help with your mentality, and it does help people continue to move forward.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. And actually, the thing about like the whole argument stuff, I was actually gonna bring up an example, right? So in previous relationships, and I think a lot of people have done this, is like you said, right? Like usually what happened is something small, but then because both sides, in my opinion, they have like kind of their ego kind of thing, and they start going back and forth with the arguments, and it just continues to escalate, right? And then it becomes like they're not really arguing about the actual thing anymore. It's just like it becomes a competitive thing. It becomes a you versus them situation,
Yep.
right?
It's true.
So yeah, so for relationships, I think I've said this before. The most important mindset to remember is that it's always us versus the obstacle or the issue,
That's
right? Because if
true.
you're together in a relationship, you're essentially a team, right? And what happens to a team when people inside the team start fighting each other? The whole team falls apart. Um, so like for example, so like with my girlfriend recently, right? Um, there were certain things that I noticed that I kind of disliked,
Yeah.
and sometimes it is a bit hard to kind of just bring it up and talk to them, right? For me, it took me like at least a few days to kind of word everything properly, because I know at the same time, um, like how you said, like reading is important, right? And I think reading is because it does help improve your conversational skills as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so with the situation with me and my girlfriend is like I just kind of spent a few days kind of wording everything in my head properly, so that it's not like I just jump out and just criticize everything that she's doing, right? And I think that requires a lot of patience. So usually when heartbreaks happen, you have to look back at the reasons, and you do have to learn from it, right? Like obviously it's a bit hard to learn when you're kind of in the state of like heartbreak, but there's always a lesson to be learned in every single part of our lives, right? So back to like me and my girlfriend, you know, it's those things where like I said the things that kind of bugged me a little,
Yeah.
and rather than letting it become an argument, I had patience. I told her like, hey, you know what, like, I'm not saying these things to criticize or anything. It's more of like I notice these things, and I feel like us as individuals and as a relationship, we can continue to improve with one another, and we help each other improve. So therefore, I'm pointing these things out so that we can find a solution together to work towards, bettering ourselves.
That's true. That's
For
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Like
I
I know a
think
couple. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lucas.
no, I think for a lot of cases that like when a couple argues, they're fighting with each other instead of like um
Towards the
fighting
problem.
the actual problem, yeah.
Yeah.
And that causes a lot of strain on the relationship, which people needs to like um learn against for when it comes to like relationship building as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that
Like
sorry,
I
I
know
think
a couple that worked out when they were like fighting, but every time they fought, it was over like very small issues because in the end, they know they wanted to be together and they belong together, right? So
mm-hmm.
my friend, she would fight with her like husband now, but before they were dating, she would fight with him. How come you don't spend more time with me? Why are you always playing video games? You're always playing League of Legends and Dota. She was in tears. She's like, I had enough. It's the weekend. I want to go out. I want to go, go for a walk and have
Yeah.
like sushi or
Yeah.
bubble tea. And you're not giving me any time. You're playing Dota. And then he was like, wait, babe, let me just finish the game. Give me an
Oh
hour. We'll go out.
no.
And she was like, no. And then she ran out the door. She was in tears. And then she was calling me. She's like, Cora, I'm so upset with him. He's so stupid. All he
Oh
plays is
no.
video games. Never spends time with me. Like, I'm the one who's always cooking and doing everything. He's just lazy.
Oh
then I
no.
was like, don't be sad. Maybe you can do something else while you're like he's playing video games. You could like watch Netflix or something, or do
Yeah.
your nails, or do something as he's finishing the game. And then she was like, you know what, you're right. I'm gonna ask him for his Netflix account. And she went back upstairs, right? And then she was like, what's your Netflix account? And he was like, oh, babe, this is it. And she's like, fine, I'll watch a few episodes. But like, once we finish all of this, we have to go for a walk. Like, I want to go out. And then he was like, fine, right? And they made up, right? And she was like a little sad, and they gave a little kiss, and then things were good again.
Wait, she didn't already have his Netflix account? That's a big problem.
No, because she doesn't like watching Netflix. Like
Okay.
before, she was,
Alright.
yeah, she
Alright,
was,
that's fair.
she wasn't like a. Now she is fully on Netflix. Like before, she was like a good girl. She would come home. She would do chores. She'll sweep. She'll do her laundry. She'll go on the computer to go shopping, and then she's waiting for her boyfriend to go out for dinner, right? Or
Okay.
or hang out. Like that was the kind of girl she was, right? She wasn't really into, but now she's fully watching, all the series on Netflix and Grey's Anatomy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yes, but this happens a lot to couples. Like the boyfriend is always watching, like, so he's always on like video games, and the girl is just, I don't want to do this. She wants to do something else. Like, what do you guys think of this? Like, this has happened to your relationships?
Yes.
For me, it's the other way around. It was my ex who was playing video games while I was just chilling watching Netflix.
Oh wow.
Oh,
So the solution was for me to join her. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thing. So
For me, it was during the time when like my girlfriend lived with me.
Yeah.
We compromised, right? Like, after dinner, there's like an hour or two where she knows I'll be done here gaming and everything, and then once I'm done, then I go upstairs and give her attention. But now, when I only see her once a week, kind of thing, like she stays over like Friday to Saturday, then I kind of compromise too, right? I compromise and be like, hey, you know what? Like if you're here, then I won't game unless friends that I game with are like they actually need me, then sure.
Yeah.
Or like if, for example, I'm like pretty busy on Friday doing like other stuff, not like when I don't get personal time,
Mm-hmm.
then I would tell her like, hey, you know what, like today, yes, I picked you up, you're here, we're together and it's fun, but I still need a bit of personal time, so I'm gonna just be downstairs doing my own thing for like an hour or two, and usually we just kind of compromise like that.
Oh, that's good. So
Yeah,
you have like a schedule of when you guys will hang out and have some
yeah,
alone time.
yeah, yeah.
That's good.
Because there was
Yeah.
a time where like I picked her up and it came back to my place,
Yeah.
and then my family and I, like, we all had dinner, and then I was gaming, and then she would complain about like what's the point of me coming over if you're just gonna like game or anything, right? So
Yeah.
after that, that's when I was like, okay, we'll have a set schedule, like like I said earlier, like if I don't get personal time, then I'll let her know. And all this comes back to communication, and I apologize for the noise that's happening behind me because my brother's cat is literally just like meowing and jumping around behind me.
It's okay.
He finally left, but he's still meowing.
if
But
there
yeah.
was a video, we will be able to see it, but one day.
Yeah, because I literally have a chair set up right beside me for when that cat wants to jump up here and stare at the screen with me.
I see.
Yeah,
What's your brother's cat's name?
boy.
Boy. That's a cute name.
Yes, yes. He's a very vocal and active cat.
Okay.
That's all I can say about him. All the other cats in the house, like, they're just chill, they're quiet, they fight with each other, but they're quiet.
I see.
Yeah. But anyways, back to the whole relationship stuff. After this little disruption.
Okay. Yeah, so I personally think like if you guys really want to be together, you guys will overcome like the arguments, right? But if you guys don't really like each other, but you guys don't know when to break up, you guys will pick like any situation to break up over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And inevitably there will be heartache because like women and men, they put like a lot of emotions when they're dating. Like sometimes you don't want to, but it just happens naturally, right? Like the heart is treacherous. So that's what happens. And honestly, like how I got over my heartbreak, it takes me a long time. It takes me a very long time. It takes me like 2 years to fully get over someone and not even like think of them. It takes me 2 years.
Yeah,
So
I've heard it
Yeah.
does take people quite a lot, especially if it's
yeah,
like their first ever relationship kind of thing, or quote unquote their first love.
yeah.
That one usually takes people a long time. I think I have a friend who said it took him at least like 3 years.
Yeah, when you really like someone. But for me, even though it's not like the first love, like maybe it's like the second love, it
Hmm.
still takes me a long time when like, well, the relationship was like a year long, right? And like
Yeah,
a lot of things were invested, a lot of emotions and like the memories. But
yeah.
like how I got over it was like I had therapy and I really learned to nourish myself like every
Hmm.
day I'll do an activity that I liked, which is
Yeah.
like talking to my friend or putting on like a Korean sheet mask. And
Hmm.
then the second activity was like something I had to do, which is like do my laundry or like pay my bills or like help my dad do something for his work, right? That
Hmm.
was something like that was like I had to do. And then
Yeah.
over the weekends or Friday evenings when I had time, I would work on Love and Peace, right? And that was my progress for like
Hmm.
myself entrepreneur business.
Yeah.
And then every month I would try to like apply for like at least like 10 to 20 jobs and I would spend my time on it. So that's what I'll do. And I still make time to exercise every day by like brisk walking or even like looking at a YouTube video of like a
Hmm.
workout. So to maintain like my healthy wellness. So that's what I did. And over time, like I I dream really frequently, like almost every night I dream about things. But I know that like I am like almost fully over my ex-boyfriend, but I still
Hmm.
have like a soft spot for him and but like I would never like get back together. A lot of bad things happened between us.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
like, yeah, so I feel like this breakup was how I handled it was really, really good. Like compared to like a lot of like situations where people don't handle the heartbreak well, right? Some people like
Yeah.
get drunk or do drugs or gamble, right? Something like that's really irresponsible over like emotions, and that's not good.
I will
Yeah.
admit that the
Yeah, I
drinking
will
part,
admit that I did that.
the drinking part was part of it a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, over time you kind of like you think of a different way because like back like a few years ago, it's kind of like when bad things happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because of salt. I don't know,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
like
Wow.
alcohol back then was like always like the first response kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then it's like over time, like this is why sometimes I want to say like even though like the pandemic and quarantine everything's been bad, like I think some good has come out of it for some people.
Yeah.
So like for me, thanks to like the pandemic and everything, I think when it first started, I was heartbroken not because of a relationship, but it was because of like rejection.
Mhm.
But because of that,
Oh.
like rather than just kind of sitting around and doing nothing, I kind of immediately just jumped into like, hey, you know what? There's online courses I should take. I do want to improve like my capabilities in this career path. So the moment I started doing that, you see like those little progress, incremental
Yes.
progress. It starts to like it makes you happier. Like you start forgetting about the pain from all that stuff from before.
That makes
And
sense.
yeah, it's incredible. But I also know like for a lot of people, it's very hard because even when I think back, even before Salt, right? Like, um, I think one of the first relationships I broke up with, I was definitely like devastated, right? I think I was in a slump for quite a long time. And then as I dated someone else, and then that was a quick thing. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like I lost my train of thought.
It's
Wow.
okay.
Okay.
I was on this whole path, and after my brain is just like, like the heart monitor is like, doot, doot, doot. Just
He
like ended.
flatlined.
I'm
Russell's gone. He
flatlined.
flatlined.
Don't worry, I'll come back in a bit. I think.
You will. You're
Yeah,
welcome back. Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess for me, uh, but yeah. So like the drinking part, and salt didn't really help with it. I think I just
Okay.
like influenced everyone to drink with me.
You
So
did?
that Yeah, I pretty much.
Yeah, so
I kinda
basically when
did.
we were at karaoke, he would like have his notes to study, but then like the moment a trip of alcohol dropped on his page, he's like, "Screw this, I'm not studying anymore." And he started drinking and singing karaoke. Like he just went all out.
Yeah,
So
karaoke and
funny.
alcohol was like an escape for me.
Yeah.
To get out of, like, I guess, depression and heartbreak.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happened,
Yeah.
and I guess making all these friends as well also helped as well to have
Yeah,
like
it
a
does.
distraction.
Friendship
Yeah, friendships help as well. So
helps
if
a
y'all don't have
lot.
friends,
Yeah,
if y'all don't have friends, then like make friends.
for sure.
But like those aren't really healthy escapes to get over a breakup.
Yeah.
So, and the pandemic helped a lot because it's kind of lonely to drink by myself. So I stopped
Yeah.
drinking. I stopped drinking. So
Oh my goodness.
I stopped drinking. I started working out a little, and yeah, that's pretty much it. To be honest.
That's good.
And working out, I think, is like a pretty big thing, especially after a heartbreak, because not only does it help, I guess, people's fitness goals, but working out does help. Like I think it was like what, like it boosts like dopamine in your brain. Like you feel a lot better after a workout session.
Something
That's
like that.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because, like, after I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, I immediately went to the gym and because I was gonna go anyways, right? And then I was like running on the track and I was like listening to Justin Bieber and like my tears were going down. I was running the third lap. I was running and crying and running and crying. Right?
no! No, poor girl.
That's what happened, right? And then afterwards, I was done running. I was done crying. I just went home, took a bath, went to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after you work out, like you do feel a lot better, right?
You do.
Yeah.
And also, I just remember what I was gonna say before with my story.
Okay.
It was I'm a completely different person, right? So like after the first heartbreak, I was totally like I was in a slump, like I said, and then after the second heartbreak, it was very different because literally on the day I got dumped, I called up my friend who I was doing a startup with, and I immediately started talking to him about business plans while crying, and my friend was just like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "No."
Okay, bro. Okay.
We gotta do this. And then he was like, "You're the only person that will literally get dumped and literally call me to talk about business." I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
Wow.
You know, like I can admit, like I'm as weird. I'm like, super weird like that, where like my mind is. I can be like in an emotional slump, but for some reason during that time and till now, it's kind of like yes, I'm emotional, but at the same time, like my logical side is still kind of jumping back and be like, no, you got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I think after overcoming all these heartbreaks, I guess Lucas should kind of tell his story about his heartbreak and what happened when his ex contacted him back.
Yo. Okay. All right. All right. So
Okay.
around Valentine's Day, I thought it was last year, but apparently it was like 2 years ago. No. Okay. All right.
This is
Anyways,
the amazing cameo of Lucas's mom.
Anyways, yeah. 2 years ago, so she contacted me, and she has a new boyfriend at this point.
Okay.
So like, I was her best source of contact for her to vent about her new boyfriend, which it kind of put me in like a spiral because I haven't fully gotten over her,
Yeah.
and like all these feelings start surfacing back up and whatever, and I just start getting confused.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't help when she said like I was her best friend, especially when like she has a new boyfriend and all that.
Hmm.
So when she contacted me, I just I guess I don't know, I spiral, and like I would also give her like cold responses, 1 or 2 word responses, and start acting like super cold to her because I don't really want to go through the same thing again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that went on for like a year until the pandemic came back. So
Has she contacted you again?
no, she hasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she said I was the worst person ever, so I don't know why she said that. So
She contacted you just to tell you that.
yeah, she told me this like almost a year later that I was like the worst person
Okay.
ever, and that she would never forgive me. so she hasn't
Okay.
contacted me ever again.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, but being cold to her and was, I guess it was just a natural response for me to cope with what I was going through, especially since sparring doesn't help, alcohol doesn't help,
oh,
so might as well just cut her off, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like the best thing you could do for
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah. I didn't really block her,
Okay.
but I guess if she like, I don't know, message me again, I'll probably just be cold to her still.
Yeah.
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 I would be like the complete opposite because the first relationship I had, even though she dumped me and I was like the one that I was like an emotional slump for,
Yeah.
she would contact me like every few months, and then my naive ass would be like, "Oh my god, could it work out this time?"
Oh, I
And then we
remember this.
talk again. Yeah,
Mhm.
you do know it, and like I think we did hang out in during Christmas 3 years ago, a bit before Salt started, so like around 2018, I think, in Christmas.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, we would hang out, and then she literally ghosted me right after. And I'm like, what the f, like, bro, like, what? And I was really confused, right? And then I think she contacted me again. I think mid 2019, and this was when, like, that's when I told Lucas about all of this stuff that was happening.
Oh yeah, so we were
Uh,
going through the same thing, right?
yeah, we were essentially going through the same thing. It's just like I wasn't cool to her because I don't know why, because at the time when I dated her, it was almost felt like, like I saw a future with her.
Yeah.
So I was like, no matter what happened, like I was always have like that soft spot for her. So it was weird.
Why was she
And
like contacting you? Like, what did she want from you?
the weird thing was that a year after we ended things, then she would start telling me like she would actually start communicating her emotions to me. And I was like, why didn't you just do this like a year ago? And she's like, oh, like I was afraid of being hurt. And I'm like, what? And I didn't really understand her logic, but I was just like, I was still there like listening and everything. Um, And funny enough, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but right before I met my current girlfriend, my ex did contact me again, and we did talk for a bit, and then we were supposed to meet up on a certain day. But
Yeah.
luckily, it was a day that was after I already met my girlfriend, and things were
Oh.
going well. So then that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm too busy, I can't come.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then something that I just kind of like, I got curious one day.
Mhm.
Um, I did try to search up her Instagram
Yeah.
account, and it's gone.
Mhm.
So I think she changed her name. So I think like that's that. Because I think before I met my girlfriend, me and my ex actually matched on Hinge.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, because I'm someone who's like, I guess spiritual in a way, where I always think like sometimes like there's a reason for things happening, right?
Mhm.
And then when we match, I'm like, hey, you know what, like. It's weird how like we keep coming back to each other no matter what.
Yeah.
Except this time I was the one that said peace out rather than her ghosting me.
Good for you.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, like she was a bit. I would say she's quite demanding of certain things, so it was draining for me. So I was like, okay, like, thank God, like I think this is over, and I hope it's over. So yeah, that's my story of my ex contacting me again.
Okay, I'll tell you my story.
Yes.
So my ex-boyfriend, like we haven't spoken for like 3 years. It was a really bad breakup, okay?
Mhm.
And we ended on bad terms. Like we haven't spoken for 3 years. And then like last week he sent me an email. Like he was apologizing for his behavior. He was calling himself like selfish, mean, and he was not self-attuned. He was saying that like I was one of the best people he ever met in his life. And I was like thinking like, what does this guy want from me, right? So I was reading the entire email saying like he wants to be friends, but like I don't think he really wants to be friends because he's like saying I was the best thing that ever happened to him. Like he wished he was like there for me, but he wasn't. So I think he wants to get back together, but like
Trying to use
I,
that friend path first to kind of sneak his way back.
yeah, like trying
Yeah.
to kind of like get back to me, like go into my life. So I responded to his emails, and then afterwards, I felt really bad. Like I opened like some bad emotions and like memories from the past, like as we were talking. So I didn't want this because like it's gonna be like a vicious, like toxic cycle. He's still the same person as before. He's still like the
Mhm.
mean, like selfish man. Like he didn't change all these years, right?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So like I was like, like I don't wish you well, like, F you. Like I'm done, right? Like don't come back. And then he sent me another email saying that like, it hurts that like you hate me, but like it is what it is. I wish you well always. And then he sent me another like email again, like when I didn't respond to him. He's like, I still have your pot in my house. Like, do you want it back? I can mail it back to you if you don't want to see my face.
The
And
plot.
like a pot.
Oh,
Yeah, left the pot at his house. But like, yeah, I don't want it back. And then like I don't really want to see him also and also cause any sort of like dynamics with this person.
Yeah,
So I just didn't
Yeah.
reply to him and that was it.
that's a smart move.
that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ghosting him. Ghosting him is
Yes.
good too.
Well, the thing with exes, I always feel like there's like two sides because like I do know some people who like
Yeah.
yes, they break up with their ex and they always get into arguments, but then they do end up getting married. And then there's the other side where it's like you just don't want anything to do with them ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird sometimes, right? Because like you don't know, and that's why sometimes I do believe like if two people are meant to be, like things will work themselves out.
That's true.
Yeah.
But again, I also know a lot of people who don't believe in that stuff. They just think like, hey, you know what, like it is what it is, kind of thing.
That's true too.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
I don't know. Like, do you believe that like if you guys were meant to be, you guys will meet like 10 or 20 years later on, or no? Like that's it. Right? Like we don't know, but like what do you think? Do you believe in like faith? Like this person's meant for you, but like it didn't go the right way the first time, so then the second time comes again? Or like or each to their own. It depends on each individual.
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah. For me, I feel like, but again, I'm like I believe in like stuff like faith and destiny and all that stuff. So like
Yeah.
I do believe like even if you don't meet that person in this certain time period, um, that person will come back into your life some way or another. Right? Because I feel like every person we interact with, I feel like
Yeah.
there are things that we learn from them to help us grow as people. So even if they don't appear now, they'll appear sometime down the line in our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of similar to kind of saying like sometimes we're dating someone, they could be the right person at the wrong time kind of thing.
That's true. Like for
Yeah.
my situation, like what I learned from this whole experience with my ex is that like who they are, like that's who they are. Like they won't change. From my experience, they won't change.
Mhm.
And I think your spiritual faith is very important with your values.
Mhm.
Like during a relationship, you always have to maintain your own values for you to respect yourself and also feel good about yourself in the relationship, right? And it's a lot easier if you guys have the same sort of values and like faith and beliefs. If not, it's like someone sacrifices, they won't be happy doing it unless like really they're happy doing it. They're happy making the sacrifice. But like that's hard in this day and age. I feel like people, it's just a lot easier if you have the same type of values and then you guys are together. But sometimes if the values are not too different, if they could change a little bit, that's okay too. With some adjustment,
Mhm.
that's okay too. And also like what Lucas said before, like friendship's so important. Like your friends are all mostly always gonna be there for you, and like I really care about my friends a lot. And I think if your friends tell you like this person is not the one for you, they see stuff like that you can't see, and you can like not totally believe it, but most likely they are right. Right, like
Yeah.
their sense of judgment, your friends, the ones who really care about you, they would
Yeah.
know. They would know,
Yeah.
definitely.
That's
Yeah.
why like whenever like there's any like things that come up with like my relationships, I always try my best to think from a third party perspective because I know like if I just decide based on just me, that's already a biased decision. right? Like I'm gonna obviously want something that's more biased towards me, but when I look at things from a third party, like a third perspective, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's all about compromise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I was
yeah,
actually
that's
gonna
fair.
ask, yeah, and I was actually gonna ask Cora too, like, what do you think about it? This thing where people say like, relationships are about compromising with one another.
I think to a degree, yes, but it can't be way too different. Like, let's
Yeah.
say, for example, both of you like have a different needs and wants for children. The guy does not want kids, and the woman wants kids, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. Like down the line, like they were hoping. I was hoping, we get married and eventually, like, you'll change your mind about wanting kids, that you'll want kids. And the guy was like, no, I never changed my mind. I thought you were okay with that, right? And then like something bad happens, right? Like,
Or like I think another possible situation is like, one of them caves in and be like, okay, we'll have kids, and then when something goes wrong, then the person who didn't want kids will use that as an excuse to kind of blame the person who wanted kids.
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it has to be something that's not too like much of a difference. If it, like, even marriage, like, 1 or 2 years, like, I want to marry when I'm 30, or I want to marry when I'm 35, that could be compromised. Guys can go to the middle and marry at 32.5, right?
Yeah.
That could be
Yeah.
doable, right? But not
Yeah.
something like that, like, the children aspect. That's like way too different, way too different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Another one is like drugs and alcoholism. Like, if the guy or the girl smokes weed and like you thought they're gonna quit, like most often they won't quit because like they've been in it for a long time.
Yeah.
Or even
Yep.
cigarettes, right? Like that's something that's they won't compromise. Like I've seen people say they will quit. They never quit, right?
They
Unless
just
something.
sneakily do it somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Or unless something really bad happens to their health, like
Yeah.
their lungs collapse or something, or they got like a lung cancer. Like, okay, then they have to cut, cold turkey, or they're gonna die, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. But like,
Makes sense.
yeah. So that's why I think about compromises. You have to be somewhere similar in these things, like drugs, alcohol, and children.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So now we get to the last point. So cherry blossoms are coming soon.
Yes.
Yes,
This
Cora.
is
So
so
tell us.
completely different.
Yes. So
No,
for
no,
all...
it's a full story. Okay, it's a full story.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Blossoms. So for cherry blossoms, like the best times to see it, it's like around May 10th to the 13th for full bloom. If you're going to like the late of May, it's a little too late. So I would say like, mid-May. And like the best places to see cherry blossoms is High Park, Roberts Library, Centennial Park, Trinity
Wait.
Bells Woods Park. Yes.
Is Robart's Library the one at UOT?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
the UFC
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's one of the best places to see it. And then my cousin, like, she told me she went to see peach tree blossoms near the Niagara region in St. Catharines, and like and she got some really beautiful like photos, and the exact location was Cherry Avenue Farms. So that's why I suggest people to go see them. Get some
Okay.
nice photos, right? Go during like the weekdays, I suppose, and
Yeah.
try to catch it when there's not a lot of big crowds. That's what I suggest. And lastly, I'm also having the matchmaking event called the Asian Bachelorette Matchmaking Sakura Spring Edition. You
Yep.
can sign up on Eventbrite. You can go on my Instagram at LovePeaceTO. The offer ends May 30th, and it's unlimited matches for 1 year.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, and,
Oh.
and the reason why I say like this is a full circle is because like after you overcome your heartbreak and
Yeah.
your ex contacts you ghost them. Okay?
Yeah, you ghost them for sure.
That's
And
true.
when you want to feel better, you go look at cherry blossoms because
Yes.
then you realize there is so much beauty in this world.
All
That's
right.
true. That's true.
See?
All right.
That's why it's a
All
full
right.
circle.
Also, I think another good place to
Yes.
see cherry blossoms is in Mississauga, Caria Park. I'm not sure.
Yes,
if
I've
that's,
heard about that one.
I'm
heard
not
it's
sure if I
really
said
small,
correctly. Yeah, it's small, but I heard the park is really nice. Well, I've been to the
Yeah.
park. It's nice, but
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I haven't been to it when it's blossoming. So, yeah, if you're in the West End, you could check out there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much to Cora for coming on the podcast today, and I
Thanks
hope
for having
everyone
me,
does
guys.
check out. Yeah, and I hope everyone does check out her event. Lucas, you should check it out.
what? Why me? What? Anyways, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank
Yes,
you, guys.
yes, and we do hope you come back on again because there are actually some things I do want to talk about again, as well. Because I
Yes.
think, like I said before, right? Like in terms of relationship, there's such a wide range of topics. And I
Yeah.
feel like talking to you about it is like always beneficial as well for everyone who's listening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love to come back, and it's always so much fun and such a pleasure to talk to you guys. You guys are so fun.
Yes,
Thank you.
we are. Thank you.
Yes, Lucas is fun.
I am very fun. I'm a fun boy. I'm a fun guy.
All right. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining all.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Sad Boy Podcast.
Please remember to subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and have a nice day, I guess.
Yeah, stay sad or happy.
Yeah,
Sad?
happy.
Sad?
Sad
Happy?
boy.
Sad Boy Podcast.
Sad Boy Podcast. Good night.